My name is Maciej. Since we don't have a lot of time left, I will try to speed run through my talk, but hopefully without lossy compression. So the title of my talk is JavaScript Daemons and How to Find Them. And the subtitle is in the AI era, obviously. So what this talk is not about, contrary to what you might think from the initial title, is I am not going to talk about this trivia, these little quirks, because I don't think that this kind of stuff really matters. It's just fun for a meme on X for 5 minutes. But what I am going to talk about is these demons that have been killed in the late 2000s, in the early days of the web, and what's terrible is that they are being resurrected with the AI wave. So, how many of you know what this logo is? And raise your hand.
Netflix.
That's okay. So I think that's a really telling question, because those of you who raised your hands, you don't know why it's so obvious to you. It's Netscape. Yeah, but for Gen Z people in this room, including me, we don't, I haven't seen this logo before I did research for this talk, and so this is Netscape. So people my age know it only from the tales of the internet elders, that there was this very big company in the 2000s, and it was booming. Everybody wanted to be at Netscape. Elon Musk wanted to work at Netscape, and he got rejected. So I think that's quite analogous to what we are seeing now with OpenAI. And there's a lot of other analogies between these eras, which is not that of a hot take. But what I am going to focus about is how these demons that are coming back have an impact on JavaScript development and on all of us in this room. So just to set the context in a bit of how these two eras are so similar. The most obvious one that I think we all know about already is the market situation. So right now, it's no longer a controversial opinion that the AI market is more likely than not in a bubble. 1 year ago, it was a crazy hot take, but right now, even Mark Zuckerberg admitted it a few days ago. The big players are already placing bets on the crash. However, it's not the technology that's in a bubble, it's just the financial market. So that's one analogy to the dot-com bubble of the 2000s. Another one, in my opinion, analogy is the browser wars of the 2000s. So back at the time, the reason I mentioned Netscape was because at the time, everybody thought that, browsers, everybody was on the, trip to build the next big thing, which was the browser. So everybody wanted to build the browser. And now I think the whole world is on a hunt for the best foundational model, for the best foundational LLM. So as we all know, in every single major country on Earth, Google Chrome won, except for North Korea, which is the single big country that doesn't have it. So by the way, it might be interesting to see if in a couple of years, maybe they will train their own LLM without, the filthy data from the West countries. Okay, so that was just to set the context for what I'm going to talk about. So I think there are 3 demons from the 2000s, from the early days of the web, that have come back. And are causing a lot of turmoil in the especially JavaScript world. The first one is skipping guardrails. So I think in a lot of companies right now, as the AI development departments are allowed to sneak under this security tape. That was the case exactly in the 2000s, but I'm going to get that in a second. So one very interesting example of that is this idea of AI wallets. So Google trends for AI wallets. For context, this was a really, really hot topic since the beginning of 2025, especially in the summer. Everybody wanted to integrate their agents to be able to pay autonomously, and then suddenly it dropped. Nobody is talking about it since a month. even though huge companies have implemented their own measures, like Stripe and Visa jumped on the train, and now nobody's talking about it. Why? I think because they realized that that just like in the 2000s we had the SQL injection problem, which was like, you know, huge. It impacted a lot of companies, like entire companies have collapsed because of it, including the 2005 card systems breach, where like 50 million credit cards got leaked because of a simple SQL injection. And I think it's ironic that 20 years later, like the top one hot security vulnerability is going to be prompt injection. And like in the 2000s, of course, people started to hedge against it with developing, you know, the OWASP top 10 list dropped back then. The overall vibe was shifting from security is an afterthought, we don't care, like get it working, to like, yeah, maybe let's figure it out first and make it secure by design. And now we have gotten to times where it's harder to introduce an SQL injection vulnerability into your application than not, because like we have made it so hard. Okay, so how does this even impact JavaScript, and how does this relate? I think that, and I don't think it's like the overall vibe, that because of the design of JavaScript, where you download all your dependencies to node modules and you have readmes there and stuff like that, when you use Cursor, for example, or Windsurf or GitHub Copilot or any other of these agentic tools, they read these files. And what that means is like we used to have, and we still have, problems with NPM supply chain attacks. And you know that works like an attacker hijacks an NPM account and publishes malicious code in an NPM package. And now it's gotten even worse, because you don't even have to plant malicious code. You just can plant natural language in millions of developers' local environments by planting it in README-MD. And another demon that I think is coming back from the 2000s and from the early web browsers is insufficient isolation. So for context, back in the 2000s, you know, Brendan Eich created famously JavaScript in 10 days, like in a big hurry. The browsers were just like LLMs are now, developed really quickly. And you could literally do implant code, like, for example, if you had opened a tab with your bank account and another tab with evil.com, and evil.com tried to send HTTP requests to the bank, they got accepted. Like that's like the cross-site request forgery. So that has been mitigated largely by same origin policy, CORS, and all the other stuff, annoying stuff that we developers have to deal with right now. But it was exactly for that reason, that it was unsecure by design, it was trust-based. And the same notion is coming back with agentic browsers. So a couple of weeks ago, Brendan Eich famously tweeted that, but before that, for context, the Perplexity and OpenAI dropped their huge browsers, agentic browsers, like it's the hot new thing right now. But when you enter X and the tech community on X, the overall vibe is, at least in my algorithm bubble, that don't use these tools. This is very dangerous. And Brendan Eich himself confirmed it with his authority. And he said, don't use it. It's the same vibe that in 2000s, there is no isolation of data. And back then, for you to get hacked by this vulnerability, all it took, not all, but what it took to get hacked was, you know, you had to access an evil website yourself, and an evil person had to like hack the code in that. Right now, it's your agentic browser can access an evil website on its own because it browses on its own, and you don't even need code anymore. You need a skillful prompt injection. So obviously, it's not as easy as on this picture, but the prompt injection techniques are endless, and it's impossible mathematically to hedge against them correctly. So it's kind of the same vibe as with the early days of web development. Back then, you had no like runtime isolation between the tabs and between the sites and between the domain. You didn't have CORS, SOP, CSP, and so on and so on. And right now, the agent doesn't have any isolation between the pages, right? That's like obvious because he switches from the pages himself. So he could technically get injected and go on and transfer all your funds from your bank account to, I don't know, Pyongyang or something like that. And the third demon from the 2000s, which is related to the first two, is trusting user data. So back then, some smart hackers in the late 90s and early 2000s could figure out that if you had, for example, forums, because forums were like a thing back then, they could when inserting a post that people would see that was rendered on the web page, they could instead of writing content, they could inject some code. And it worked for a lot of years. It was also topping the OWASP top 10 vulnerability list for a very long time. And it has been largely eliminated. It's really, really extremely hard to do code injection in JavaScript in the web now. However, it has gotten trivially easy for a lot of places to do prompt injection. Not just for bots on X or I don't know, some Russian or other hostile bots on the internet, but also for these agentic browsers. Because back then, a hacker could plant a prompt on a forum post, and that took a smart person to do injection. Right now, all you need is you plant a natural language prompt injection on any web page, right? Even on Twitter, everything is untrusted now, and everything is trusted, unfortunately. So what now? I don't know, but I think we are gonna see these three trends develop in a very similar fashion, like they did from the 2000s up until now. So I think we should enjoy Cursor and these agentic browsers while we can, because I think they are gonna get severely sandboxed, and it's gonna be harder and harder each year to use them freely. That's all.